A huge thank you to Epic Games for sponsoring this video. Check out Dead Island 2 on the Epic Games Store with my link in the description below. After almost 10 entire years since its first trailer all the way back in 2014, Dead Island 2's release is finally here, and with all that time in development alongside how much gaming in general has evolved since 2014, Dead Island 2 is a pretty big shake-up from the original Dead Island and Riptide formulas. So in this video I'm going to talk about all the ways Dead Island 2 has evolved compared to the previous games while keeping the charm that made the originals so loved. The beautiful sunny beaches of Benoist Holiday Resort are no doubt the first thoughts that come to your mind if you think the words Dead Island. The dreamlike holiday destination paired with a nightmarish outbreak of undead storming beach houses and peeling flesh from bones is a high contrast combination that made the original so unique, and thankfully the tradition is being carried on in the streets of LA, or as the dev team have coined it, Hell-A. Maintaining the beautiful scenery is a key part of keeping Dead Island 2 feeling like a Dead Island game, but it also means that players will get to experience the huge improvements in graphical quality in all their glory. And they really are huge. Take this cutscene for example. It's not pre-rendered, it's a genuine in-game engine cutscene, and it's genuinely breathtaking. The draw distance is crazy, the greenery and houses of LA can be seen for miles on end, and zombies can even be seen in the distance going about with their usual antics, which again is another huge upgrade, as in the original, zombies would simply despawn if you weren't surprisingly close to them. While we're on the topic of looks, the characters in general have had a major upgrade. As you can see, the models are absolutely beautiful, with expressive movements, accurate lip syncing, and the vocal talent has been seriously stepped up.
There's millions of those things out there, just waiting to sink their teeth into us. Face it, we'd need a helicopter to get out, and everyone who has one is already fucked off in it.
In the previous games, your character's talking was fairly minimal. It did happen, especially in cutscenes, but even then the speech was used sparingly, which is probably part of the reason you might not have noticed some of the lackluster vocal work.
There might be some food and drinks there. I need you to go and bring everything you can find.
Did you check both gas stations?
Speaking of graphics, no zombie game would be complete without shed loads of graphic zombie gore, and the brand new dismemberment system, named the Flesh system, takes decimating the undead to new levels. While the original game allowed you to burn zombies and slice off their heads, elbows, shoulders, knees, or entire legs at predefined slice points, the new Flesh system completely overhauls the previous 5-point system in favor of complete locational damage according to exactly where your weapon hits, allowing for unmatched levels of gore and dismemberment, even revealing the zombie's organs underneath. Even the blood splatters are incredibly accurate, spurting in the exact angle and direction you hit them from, and even coating your weapon accordingly. And of course, the zombies themselves. Where would we be without the classic walkers and infected? But instead of holiday goers from Benoist, we've got locals from Los Angeles, as well as all new mutations. Keep your eyes open and your back covered, as there are unseen mutations lurking in the shadows, each requiring different ways to take them down. And to help you do exactly that, we have a brand new set of characters, or slayers, each with their own bold styles and personalities alongside unique skill sets to mow down the infected. Much like the original survivors, Sam B, Jeanne, Perna and Logan, our new slayers have tanked zombie bites like it's nothing. But unlike the original 4, the new slayers aren't fully immune. With each of them having some of the virus in their veins, they can tap into it occasionally to gain inhuman, or undead, abilities similar to the old Fury mode. For example, Carla, who can use the infection to let out a feral scream, giving her temporary buffs alongside stunning every nearby enemy and shredding their protections for a short period of time. It can also be upgraded to cleanse all debuffs from you and heal you at the same time. And one of my favourite aspects of the previous games has also been evolved, the skill trees. While the old skill trees did offer some options in terms of which skills you got and in which order, each character was locked to a specific playstyle. For example, Sam B kind of had to be the tank, as he had extra health, passive health regen, and zombies were more likely to be drawn to him than anyone else on his team. But the new skills in Dead Island 2 grant far more freedom as to how you want your build to augment your playstyle, and even fixing the biggest issue with the old ones, you are now free to respec your skills on the fly. So if you're not fully committed to one build, you're free to try something else out at any point in time. For instance, let's pull up my build for Carla and take a look at the survivor cards. Right now I only have 2 slots unlocked and I'm running Safety First and Invigorating, both of which grant me heals for blocking and counter-attacking respectively, and as you can tell from the card art, it's pretty much a vampire build. Once you're in the flow of combat with a group of zombies, you'll have many opportunities to block and then in turn counter-attack, which means you'll be healing like a maniac if you can get the timings right. The huge variety of weapons in the original has been expanded hugely, keeping curious slayers fiending to find their next weapon just to see what could possibly come up next, and of course, it would be a crime to talk about this franchise's weapons and not mention the mods. Customizing weapons with new unique affinities and effects could give any old weapon a spark of life, and in Dead Island 2, the mods have returned and they're far more in-depth than they ever were before. In the original games, mods simply applied an effect like fire or electricity whenever you hit a critical hit, which dealt more damage and sometimes crowd controlled the enemy, and that's about it. But now, some mods have upsides and downsides, some still apply effects on crit, whereas some will always apply an effect whether it's a crit or not, some boost other stats while reducing others, and you can combine multiple different modifications and perks to one single weapon, allowing for a huge variety of results and allowing you to completely synergize your build if you choose to do so. For instance, let's take a look at this wrench I've modified. For the main mod itself, I've chosen the Melee Puncturator mod, which gives the weapon a bleed effect and adds a passive where every hit also adds a stacking bleed effect. Then for the weapon perk, I've gone for Lightweight, which increases the weapon's attack speed but reduces its force. The downside of the reduced force is totally fine because the wrench already had a ton of force and knocked zombies about all over the place, and that increased attack speed means I can stack the bleed up even faster. The more bleed, the more damage, the more health they lose, and the faster we do that, the faster we kill them. Because of these different effects, it's not like the old style of set it and forget it, where crits in the old game were random and you got the effect or didn't, that's it. If I want to get the most out of this mod, then my best bet is to spam light attacks as quickly as possible, whereas normally without the mod, heavy attacks tend to be your best friend. The effects of modifications don't stop at physically hitting your enemy either. At this point of the game, I've broken into a streamer house and an infected bodybuilder is running at me. I'm not confident enough to handle a brute like this face to face, I'm not good enough at my parry timings, and I'm not looking to get insta-killed. But thankfully, this luxurious streamer house has a swimming pool and I have an electrified machete. So I lure this absolute unit into the pool and then start slashing away at the water, each slash sparking the entire pool and chipping away his health from a safe distance until he's finally dead. And that's not something the game tells you to do, you get rewarded by your own creativity. One of the biggest evolutions Dead Island 2 has made is on its movement, and if any of you have played the original, you know how big this is. The biggest complaint I've seen about the original was how clunky, unresponsive, and inconsistent its movement was. Well, movement on Dead Island 2 is as smooth and fluid as you can get. There's even sliding and, by extent, a slide tackle, a jump kick, and a new vaulting mechanic. So you can climb, jump, and slide your way across the map smoother than ever before. It's not a free running game, but the controls feel as smooth as one. Although I've not completed the game yet, so I can't talk about the entire story, what I've seen so far is that this game takes place years after the events of Riptide, where the original survivors escaped. As society collapses due to the virus now hitting LA, most of the group wants to contact law enforcement to tell them how you're immune and how you can help find a cure for the virus. Meanwhile, Sam B, who's now on his 3rd rodeo, is very much against that idea, as he's seen firsthand that the only concern they'll have is quarantining, nuking, and covering up as much as possible. So when you run off and do exactly what Sam B told you not to do, that's a you problem, and he doesn't let himself get dragged along. There are interpersonal relationships amongst the other characters, one-sided feelings of affection, friends and enemies, and some of these people are genuinely caring and protective of one another. The whole experience is genuinely captivating and immersive, and while there are some jokes here and from there, the overall tone doesn't stray too far away from the original, mainly due to how amazing the performances are from the characters, which really keep things grounded and gritty, and I think it makes a great addition to the franchise, and I genuinely love it. Once again, you can check out Dead Island 2 on Epic Games with the link in the description or the pinned comment, and thanks again to Epic Games for sponsoring this video.